In a previous demo, we went over, some of the features of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And specifically, we talked about the pillar 2 of the Zero Trust with Microsoft Solutions video series. But one of the things, so we talked a lot about Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, but I kind of left out or failed to mention some of the most important things about Defender. And it's obviously before you can do it with Defender, you need to have the license, and we did that. So make sure you watch my uh, previous video. Same is the part of the same playlist. So we talked about the licensing. You need to have the right licensing, of course, and then you need to come in and configure Defender and all stuff. So assuming that you have done that already, then the next step to make sure that all your devices are visible, right? So before you can go into and see devices in the assets blade here. So if you go to assets and go to devices, before you can manage those devices with this EDR solution, they need to be onboarded. That's the terminology that is used. It's onboarded, right? Uh, you don't. It's you don't. One of the differences and the advantages of using Microsoft EDR solutions in this case is that you don't need to install a piece of software, right? Um, in a way like other solutions, because the sensor of Microsoft Defender is already built in into the operating system, whether it is Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 2019, etc., Windows 2025, the server version as well. So, but in order to have visibility and look at the device in the device inventory, the device need to be onboarded. We're not going to go the things that we cover in the previous video. I just want to, this is a part 2 of that video because I did not talk a little bit about the onboarding process. But once you come to the Defender portal and then you go to the systems blade here, the systems link, and you click on the settings uh, part of this here, you're going to go into endpoints, which is right here. And then when you go into, and what, again, there's a lot of things here, but when we cover a little bit, but what I want to talk about is specifically the device management. And there are two main components. Well, first, you need to onboard those devices. We'll talk about that. And well, but what if for whatever reason there's a device that you need to offboard? So that you don't want to see there anymore. Or for example, this device, which is a VM that I use in my lab, this device was onboarded to another, like my production tenant. I do have a uh, Microsoft 365 E5 license, so I do have my tenant, and this device was already onboarded to that. Well, a device cannot be onboarded to two different tenants. So if a device is already onboarded and then you want to onboard it into another tenant, you would have to offboard that device. So in my case, I had to first come here, go to offboard, download this package, and then run that package for in command prompt. Very, very simple stuff. But let's say that you are starting with this zero trust journey with Microsoft Solutions, and now, I said in the previous video that one of the easiest way is if you have Microsoft Intune and you have configured Intune to connect to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, as soon as a device is joined to Azure and then join into Intune, then that device will automatically be onboarded. You don't need to do anything. Okay. But a lot of small companies do not have Intune, right? And they may not want to uh, purchase Intune, which is, if you can, of course, it's a good thing if you really want to go to the journey of zero trust. But let's say that you just want MDE, which is a great product. You can have MDE without having anything else. So all of these products and solutions, although they work better when they are all together, but you could have one and not the other, and so forth. So anyway, so here I am in the onboarding section. If you click on the operating system version, so Windows MDE supports Windows 7 and Windows 8, okay, which are all devices. Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows Server 2008 R2 SP1, Windows 2012, 2016, Windows Server 2019, 22, 2025, Mac OS, Linux servers, iOS, Android, right? There's a number, there's a lot of, because people, and this is a one of those features where people think, oh yeah, it's a Windows thing, it's only Windows. No, 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 no. So Microsoft Defender for Endpoints supports basically almost any device that it's out there. Now, obviously, if you have very old devices or very old versions of Linux, you shouldn't have in any way, in any instance. But if you have very old devices, maybe. But if you have any of this operating system that we just saw over there, then you can do that. And the only thing you got to do here is basically you download this package. So I am on this machine. Now, let's say that I am not at the machine. If you can connect to the machine because you don't have Intune and you want to do this manually, so any solution that you use to for this package, you can use that, right? If you use SCCM, if you use any tools, whatever, or simply if you can connect through a network share and then, but the matter of the fact is that you need to run this on the device where you need to run, or you need to run this through a solution that you use to install software or run a script. That's the bottom line. But the business case here is that I have a computer in which I can connect to the Defender portal, and I want to onboard that computer. So I download this package. Okay. Well, actually, the reason I cannot do that is because I already downloaded this, right? Yeah, and once you download it, this machine is already onboarded, so sometimes it won't let you do that. 'Cause, hey, you already done this; it's completed, right? But anyway, so when you download that, then it automatically will go into your downloads folder here, and there's two packages that I downloaded. The offloading one, okay, this one. This is the onboarding package. If you double click on it, then this is what it is. Okay, you need to run this in a command prompt. So what I did in my case was that I I actually copy this. Uh, I copied this into the this computer, right? On the C drive, I created a folder called log files, and then I create a folder called temp. And what I did was basically I downloaded the script over here. Okay. And you could as simple as just basically right click on this and you want to run as administrator, and that's it. There's not much you need to do. Simple as that. Or you can go to a command prompt, navigate to that path, and the only thing is that you need to run the command prompt as an administrator. Whatever you do has to be done as an administrator. Once you do that, you install it, take a little bit of a second, boom, you're done. That's it. Simple as that. Okay. So I really wanted to cover this piece because I feel that I failed to do that. So again, once you have the license, you subscribe to Microsoft, you got the um, endpoint license. I don't know about the pricing. I'm not going to talk about those things or whatever. But once you have the right license, and oh, another important thing is having the right permission. you need to have a group of professionals, analysts, or admins that will be able to do that. So in order to do that, you also need to have the right permissions to do that. And so if you go to permissions over here, and so if I go to Microsoft Intra, Microsoft Defender, XDR, and then you go to roles, okay? Um, actually, I don't have the role on the Defender XDR here. The permissions have actually changed. It's not in the same spot and what it was. And that's one of the things, with Microsoft that sometimes a feature that it's in a specific place after a time it's moved, and so you got to keep up to date to make sure that everything is in its place. But in any case, here we are at the permissions section, and what happened was that they changed the permissions to be actually managed into Microsoft Entra. So if we click on roles over here in Microsoft Entra, um, and then we go to what we are looking for is the security administrator role. So anyone, if you have systems analyst or uh, members of the help desk team, the help desk team that are going to be managed, whoever is going to be managing the Microsoft Defender settings, you should give him the security administrator. Now, remember that in the Pillar 1 identities section of Zero Trust, one of the things that we talked is the principles of least privilege. And this is a very good example. So you don't want you don't want to give him global administrator because global administrator is too much, and they don't need that. So if they are security analysts, and they need to be able to configure that, you need to give them security administrator. If they just want to see the configuration, like for example management, and they want to come here and see the stuff over here, then you give them security reader, or even the global reader. The global reader is also a lot, but in this case, what we need to do is one of the first things. So once you have uh, confirmed that you have the right licenses, and you have, configure Microsoft Defender portal, the Microsoft Defender portal, the next thing that you need to do is have the right permission for the right people to do their specific tasks. And that's what we are talking about. So if I click on the security administrator role over here, you can see over here that there is one user that has that role, and here's a description. But notice how, so here we can see the users that have that role, right? It's only that my account. But notice how it says over here that now this thing should be managed with Entra ID, which it wasn't the case a long time ago. That's why I actually was a little bit lost, because it wasn't where would I knew what it was before, right? So anyway, so if I click on this, then this is going to take me to the Microsoft Azure portal. Specifically, it's going to take me directly into Microsoft Entra ID. We already went over some of the features of Entra ID when it comes to Zero Trust, and we talked about groups and use and that kind of stuff. But so anyway, so here we are, and if I go to actually to home, and I want to go to actually the the main page of the Entra things. And so what we are looking for is roles and administrators. So that specific role is actually managed through the roles and administrators section here in Microsoft Entra. So if I click on, actually, if I type security Um, there's a lot of stuff related to security, but what we are looking for is the security administrator role, and it's right here. So notice that as before, this is a privileged role, right? And there's only one user, and it's a built-in role, right? Because you could create your own role. So if any of the things that pre-configure here doesn't meet the business requirements of your company, you can create your own roles, but we're not going to get into that. So click on this security roles, and then there it is. Here is the user that has that. So if there are other people that I want to give that role, now remember that I said in I believe it was, yeah, in the identity pillar, when it comes to the principal list privilege, one of the best practices is that you don't assign roles directly to users. Now, I did that over here. This is a training environment. It doesn't really matter. But in a production environment, you should not give a permission to individual users. Rather, you should create a group, so you could create a group, and then you assign the role to the group. That way you just add and remove members to that role, and that's it. But anyway, so in the way you would do that, you would click on add assignments. So let's say that I need to assign this role to more people. Now, I don't have a security role created. That's why the only thing that I'm going to see here is just individual user accounts. But let's say, for example, that I want to give the instructor also that role, then I could do that. Now, if I had security groups, then those security groups will be listed over here, and then I could choose that security group. But in this case, since I just want to add this user, I'm going to click on add. And then now I have two admins in my company that can handle security related things when it comes to the Defender portal. And so if I go then back to the Microsoft Defender, and I'll probably will have to right click and refresh this page. That user now in that group in Microsoft Entra ID in the Partial Azure portal, then should come down and be displayed over here. And then notice how when I go to and again, so that's going to be in the permissions section under system over here. So when I go here, notice that under security administrator, I have two users. So if I click on it, then I have zero rad and then instructor rad on as membership of this. So again, one more thing. So principal list privilege, RBAC roles, we talked about this in the identity piece. So, and that's it. With that, again, this is the second part of the endpoints pillar of zero trust with Microsoft solution. I just wanted to make sure that because these are some of the first things that you need to do in order to onboard devices into the Defender portal. Well, thank you. I hope that this video has been informative. And as always, if you think that this is useful, please like my content. Most importantly, subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you next on in the next video. We are going to we're going to talk about, so here we are on endpoints. The next video is going to be about applications. So we're going to be talking about Microsoft Defender for Cloud and other Defender related tools. So we're going to talk about the features, the solutions that you can use with Microsoft solutions to support your zero trust journey. Well, thank you, and I hope to see you next.